Hi, I'm Neal Simon, and I am running unaffiliated with any political party to represent Maryland in the United States Senate. Like all the other candidates, I have felt frustrated for a long time by what we see happening in Washington. In fact, as I've traveled around my state, I've found there's only one thing that everybody agrees upon, that our government is not working. Congress is not listening and is not investing in our future. In my state of Maryland and across America, the dysfunction in Washington is making it hard for people to get ahead because our elected leaders are not preparing our workforce for the high-paying jobs of tomorrow and are not doing enough to control the escalating costs of healthcare that are hurting American businesses and American families. Instead, while they fail to address almost every major issue, they saddle the next generation with enormous debt, something I consider unfair to our children and our grandchildren. What I want to add to today's conversation is how a very small number of moderate independents in the United States Senate could change all this. We could change the course of history for this country. Imagine a Senate with 49 Republicans, 49 Democrats, and 2 moderate independents. The parties would need the votes of those 2 independents to get anything passed. That would give us enormous leverage to pull the parties away from their extremes and move them to the center in order to get real results for the American people. Because to earn our votes, they'd have to listen to us. We could also propose legislation from the middle, legislation that represents the vast majority of Americans who today feel politically homeless. And we would not only be able to have an influence over major legislation, but we could even demand changes in leadership, demand changes in committee chairs to better reflect the views of voters rather than party bosses and special interests. Finally, we would propose changes to the Senate rules that today contribute to the partisanship. The parties will try to convince you that we can't do this, but we can. We've consulted with the country's experts, and we know that we can. Like every duopoly, the parties will do whatever it takes to protect their party and to prevent disruption from the inefficient status quo from which they benefit today. The opportunity for impact is enormous. What we say to the American people is this: if you think we should come together instead of being torn apart, join us to unite America. If you think common sense is better than partisan extremism, join us to unite America. If you think progress should trump acrimony, join us to unite America, because it's time to put people over politics. Thank you.